Greetings, and thank you for joining us for the 60th episode of DC Animation with Spencer and Friends. This is a LMG Podcast Production. Today, I'm joined by a dear friend.
Darth David has returned.
Yes, Darth David is here with me today. David, you feeling all right?
Man, I am feeling lovely. Head's a little foggy, but we won't get into that.
Yes, that's no, it's nobody's business. All right. Well, could you tell the people just a little bit about your DC consumption? What DC you take in?
I am an avid DC nerd. I have just about every DC encyclopedia ever made. And the topic we're covering today is a tried and true favorite of mine. I love the comics. I watch the movies. I'm a nerd through and through. So I love that you have me on the podcast today. I appreciate it, Mr. Jones.
Well, I appreciate you for joining us on this journey through DC Animation. Today's film is Green Lantern, Beware My Power, released July 26th, 2022, and the comic book on which it was based is Emerald Twilight. I will read a synopsis in my own words, and then we're just going to talk about it. So, we open with John Stewart having a flashback from his combat days. A homeless man finds himself in the wrong alley, but luckily for him, John opens up a can of whoop ass on the two men that were, gonna set him on fire for existing. John gets tased by the police, but after looking at his record, they let him go. One of the Guardians of the Universe is making his way toward Earth and crash lands near John's house. Unfortunately, the Guardian dies and disintegrates before he's able to tell John anything. John then gets a Green Lantern ring, and the ring takes him to the Watchtower. There, he finds Green Arrow, Vixen, and Martian Manhunter. They believe him to be an intruder, so they attack him. After a talk, they learn that the previous owner of the ring was Hal Jordan, so Green Arrow and Green Lantern go to the ship, which has fixed itself, and they head to Oa. They arrive on Oa and find it in ruin. They look around and they are attacked by Shiera, who explains the Thanagarian Ran War. They reach a mutually beneficial agreement overseen by Hal Jordan. Things go bad, and Thanagar is teleported really close to Ran, and it fucks up both planets. The three of them head out to talk to Ran, and Green Arrow teaches John the Green Lantern Oath. They arrive to more ruin and come across Adam Strange. With him and Shiera, it's on sight, so they waste no time throwing hands. Eventually, they interrogate Adam Strange, and he tells them that Zeta beams are they just tend to find him. And, they've taken him all over the place. All of them head over to find answers and come across Cantus, who reveals that Sardath is planning to destroy Thanagar once and for all. Adam and Shire investigate and find that someone on the outside is creating problems and pretending to be the other side and attacking, creating chaos and confusion. They find a location and they start moving that way. Upon arriving, they are attacked, and Sinestro knocks everybody out, and of course, he takes John's ring. They are locked up with Hal Jordan, who happens to be alive, and he explains that Sinestro kicked off the war and he released his ring so that Sinestro couldn't get it. The squad tells Hal about the Zeta Beam weapon and what the plan is, and of course, Sinestro is listening in. They are able to escape, and Hal teaches John how to call on his ring regardless of where it is. They make their way to Ran only to find that Sinestro is already there and already attacking. Adam is able to get a hold of Sardath and he teleports the squad to him, but Sinestro finds them and a fight ensues. Hal isn't acting like himself, and John is forced to kill Sinestro. John then figures out that Hal was behind it all along. Sinestro infected Hal with Parallax, and now Hal believes himself to be a god, and he will destroy everything and rebuild it in his image. John and Hal fight, and John wins but refuses to kill him, and Green Arrow ends up shooting Hal, and Adam Strange sacrifices himself to save both planets. John and Green Arrow are returned to Earth, and John releases all of the Green Lantern rings that Hal stole. That's the movie.
And a great movie indeed.
So, David, what do you think of the movie?
This is actually one of my top adaptations of Green Lantern, not gonna lie. I watched this movie when it came out back in 21, and it was just as good as when I rewatched it right before the podcast. Um, it is a different take, not the traditional story, which is fine from a comic perspective. But as a standalone, I thoroughly enjoyed it. You hit on all the high notes. You got the Sinestro Corps. You've got the yellow rings. Parallax popping in there. I mean, and we know tried and true if you pay attention to anything Green Lantern wise that Hal Jordan is eventually going to turn evil. Doesn't really matter what's going to go on. Eventually, the hero falls. That is his role. So I thoroughly enjoyed this one. Honestly, it was really good.
Okay. Okay. I definitely had a good time with it. I know that this is based on a few comic books. The only one that I read was Emerald Twilight, because I think there is a comic book that goes over the Thanagar and Rand War. I have not read that one. I'm sure there are others that are involved, but especially since John is in the movie,
Yeah,
because the main I feel like the main comics that this is based on are Hal comics, but John being the main character, I'm sure there's a John comic that this covers in some form.
there is, but the plot is completely different. It doesn't. This story takes place in a different comic book. But I mean, comics are written and rewritten multiple
Yeah,
times. So,
we'll do what we
um,
want.
but this story was covered differently the last time in the comics. Hal was evil. Sinestro was involved. It wasn't the Thanagarian War though. And so this is a little different that they took a couple of different stories and kind of merged them.
Yes,
But
because
Emerald
again, like
Twilight is like the basis of this. So
yeah, because in Emerald Twilight's the one where I'm familiar because in that one, Coast City gets destroyed and Hal is distraught and he tries to rebuild it with his ring and then he's punished for using the ring for personal gain and then he's
mhm.
like, "Fuck that," and he goes, yeah, it's I remember reading that one.
Yeah, because
And
Green Arrow was in it as well. They did team up. I think the villain in that one though was like Mongol or
Warworld is involved.
somebody.
I feel like though, this fed from the reign of the Superman. So I feel like
Yes,
Cyborg
uh,
Superman like is the one who destroyed Coast City, I think.
yes, and they did so with bombs. If I'm remembering correctly, I think they blew a whole bunch of stuff up. Although, which really power wise, Cyborg Superman doesn't do all that. He just could fly through the buildings. But for the plot, they use a whole bunch of bombs to blow up Coast City. So,
Yeah. And then yeah, like they turn it into a crater, like it gets almighty pushed.
yep,
And
it sure does.
yeah, Hal is not okay. But yeah, so that's the one I remember because I remember seeing a cover with Hal wearing like 10 rings, and I was like, oh, I need to see what that's about.
And see, the thing about Hal Jordan is that no matter what his storyline is, eventually he's corrupted. That is just his canonical pathway. It is what it is. He's going to be a great hero. He's going to be a hero too long. He becomes a villain. That whole story. But the villain that he does become is almost always badass because, and it will get into it. But in the comics, whenever he takes 10 rings and becomes essentially willpower personified, that's crazy, honestly. The amount of will, because for all those that don't know, Green Lantern's powers are based off of willpower. So, every color on the spectrum has something that you got to be, top tier at in order to control. And Hal Jordan's that man. I think in Ultimate Green Lantern, because we're in the Ultimate DC universe now, comic book wise. I think Ultimate Green Lantern's a little different, but the series right before that, it basically shows you how OP a Green Lantern ring actually is. And to me, outside of the black ring of death and the white ring of light, I do think green is the strongest. Willpower is the strongest on the spectrum.
I mean, and an argument could be made one way or the other just because all the rings do different stuff. Like the fact that the yellow, like green can't do anything about the color. Yellow is an argument to say like, is it the strongest? But then we always see green overcome yellow. So,
All right.
eh,
Willpower will overcome fear.
yeah. So, it's of course the green one is the strongest one because that's, the main one. And I will say, I think that this is because Hal is a white guy, but like he is hailed as the greatest Green Lantern ever and always goes bad.
Yes,
Like
that's great. I
those two
think outside
things.
of Kyle Rayner, he has the most feats power wise. He has a lot more than John. Let me correct myself. John just became God, like the literal god of willpower in this most previous edition of Green Lantern. So before that, Hal had the most feats. But yes, ultimately he does turn evil.
Yeah, every time. But I was never a fan of Hal anyway, but I think that's more because John, in my heart, John is Green Lantern. And then when I found out that Hal was Green Lantern, I was like, oh, well, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I started hearing, oh, he's the greatest Green Lantern ever. And I was like, okay, extra fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, it's just the feats, man. You can't argue with the feats. I think this most recent edition I was talking about is the only time I can be like, all right, well, we can now say John is like the ultimate Green Lantern. But before that, it's a hard argument. It's a hard argument.
No,
I
it's
think how
true.
Jordan like willpowered a planet back into existence at some point, and reading
Yeah,
it's like, oh, okay, all right, so we can just do whatever we want with these rings now. Cool.
yeah, but they write him to be the greatest. So, no surprise there. But getting into the movie, so we see that John Stewart was in the war and he is, living with a little bit of PTSD. He's getting flashbacks and he's trying to navigate no longer being in the military. And there's a guy who starts talking crazy to him and he hems him up real quick. It's like, are you crazy? You should have watched your mouth. But, whatever. That's fine. So we see a homeless man. Did that homeless man remind you of anybody?
They did, and I thought that was like a weird callback, but or they inserted him just a little too strategically for me.
But and that particular homeless man becomes relevant later since we are in a larger shared universe. But and with that, I will not reveal who the homeless man is for the people that haven't seen all of the movies and are keeping up with the episodes. But
Yeah,
that homeless man is somebody that is relevant later. So pay attention if you see him in later movies.
he does make cameos for sure.
So the
Uh,
homeless man, oh good.
no, go ahead, you're good.
A homeless man is just existing. Like he's just there. And
Mhm.
some hooligans come across him and they're just like, you're in the wrong part of town. And he's like, obviously he's a crazy homeless man. And they're about to set him on fire for existing.
Which is crazy work. I mean, like this is some stuff that you'd see out of Gotham, but
Yes,
not there. Like I was, we
very
just
Gotham
read and we said,
behavior.
yes, but like Joker-ish type behavior. We just got to sit it. That's the one thing about the DC universe. It's the most far off from, and I know it sounds bitter coming out of my mouth, considering what Marvel is, but for the DC universe, humans are just terrible. They're just terrible people there. Imagine
Well,
just minding
yeah.
your business, being homeless. Somebody was to set you on fire. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, in every situation, it like an alley is a terrible place to be. Like, never be in an alley in the DC universe. Because, I mean, even in a previous movie, we see in one of the showcases, the Superman Shazam, there's a homeless guy there, and some hoodlums try to rob him, and Billy is like, hey, leave him alone. And yeah, Billy gets beat up. Billy's a child. And yeah,
Oh,
they just don't care. So yeah, an alley, terrible place to be in the DC universe,
mhm.
especially in Gotham, but really at all.
Yeah,
Like,
you know, really at all. If you're in the DC universe, you see Alley,
yeah,
just go nope and keep
if
walking.
yeah, and it doesn't matter if it's daytime or nighttime. It really doesn't.
It does
Like,
not.
an alley is a really bad place to be. Batman's parents were shot in an alley. Like,
I think so. I went to New York a year ago, and I don't think I think when I like was walking like Times Square, Manhattan, or down by Central Park, the side of buildings, and I think it's because I'm a comic book nerd. When I walk past an alleyway, I pause and I look. And trust me, for people that haven't been outside the state of Oklahoma, or for others that live in different states, a New York alley looks like any other alley. But for whatever reason, in my head, I'm like, there's probably some bad shit going down there. I should probably not go down that way.
Yeah,
Is there any
I don't
logic
think that's
really
for
to
me.
that? No. But like comic book wise, has programmed my brain.
No, the
I'm
logic
going that
is
way.
the fact that you have watched for your entire life people end up in bad situations in alleys.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's why. But anyway, yeah, I if I can, I will avoid an alley just because it just feels right to avoid
Yeah,
it.
100%.
But whatever. So, luckily for said homeless man, who's already covered in gasoline, by the way, um, John shows up and he's like, "Hey, stop it." And they say to him, "You're in the wrong part of town." So he proceeds to beat their ass, and the police are called. Now, of course, the fighting doesn't stop, and they decide there's a big, scary black man, so he needs to be tased. And the, villainous, almost murder arsonists, they just escape because, they don't want to deal with the police. They're criminals.
Hmm.
And John is put in handcuffs. Now, David, you know what this is.
I do.
I know what this is.
Yep.
Some of the listeners may not know what this is. So I want it to be really clear. They saw the black dude, and he's the only one who got tased. He's the only one who got put in handcuffs.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until they looked at his record that they decided to let him go. Because had he just been a regular person, had he had no record at all, he would have been arrested. But because he was a decorated military person, they decided we don't want the blowback that's going to come from this. Like, we are fully aware that if we arrest this man and it gets to the public or a news outlet gets it, we are firmly aware that this could be really bad publicity.
The
That's what
man
the
got
problem
profile.
is. That's
The
the
man got
and
profile straight up.
and that's the thing. They weren't the issue wasn't that he like their problem with it was we don't want the backlash because he's a decorated military person, not because we decided to arrest the only black person involved. So
Right.
him being black is not why, like that had nothing to do with them deciding to let him go. That fully decided why they just like why they arrested him, why he was in cuffs. Like 100% that's the reason that he was chosen to get tased and be put against the police car and to be searched and they decided to look him up. But yeah, because he was in the military and because he had, a Medal of Honor and all that, that's why they decided to let him go because they knew that the public was going to have a problem if that reached the public. And they didn't want to, deal with that mess.
Which is
But
so ridiculous. Honestly, and for those listening, the LMG podcast, League of Melanated Gentlemen podcast. Uh Racial profiling is a huge thing. It's always a huge thing. And the fact they put it in comics, fiction becomes reality or reality becomes fiction. John Stewart's original comics back in I think
the 70s,
yeah, I think the 70s when they released them. That was a big part of his storyline is black man becoming essentially space police because that for ironically, unironically, the Green Lantern Corps are the space police in the DC universe.
they
It's
say that in
something.
this movie. And
Yes.
it's
So
it's funny to me because I feel like they usually avoid the word police. Like
they do. You
they
hear them
usually
say it,
say,
but it
yeah,
is what
like
it is. This is my
it,
sector. Oh, okay.
yeah,
All
like
right.
it's an intergalactic protection, like whatever. They usually avoid the word police, but in this movie, they just said straight up, like the Guardians feel like we needed a police force.
Uh-huh. 100%. That's exactly what that was. Because the OG Guardians, I forget what they're called, the guys in red. Uh, those people were literally hunting people down. Manhunters. Ha ha, just got it. Then when the Guardians created the Manhunters, that's literally what they did. They hunted down people, captured them, and I don't believe that Oa has a jail of sorts. But
No,
whatever.
Oa's got a massive prison.
It's got a massive prison.
Yeah, like you have to use a Green Lantern key to open the uh open it. But yeah, like Oa is known for its prison. Um,
I'm gonna have to
Matter of
do a deep
fact,
dive.
there is a movie where the people in the movie are from the future, and they capture the Emerald Empress, and they say Emerald Empress is like, there is no prison on Earth that can hold me. And so they're like, but the 21st century has a prison that can hold you. And so they take her to the 21st century and put her in the prison on Oa because it's the only prison that can hold her, even across time.
That is crazy work.
Yeah. So yeah, Oa's got quite a prison.
Interesting. So that's what happens to all these people they capture. Oh, I just quick facts looked it up, and their prison is massive. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
They have in every prison cell, unironically, is the shape of a lantern. It
yeah,
is literally a little lantern symbol, and in the center of the ring is one of the people they captured. This is crazy work. Okay, cool.
yeah. So yeah, they absolutely, yeah, it's a police force up and down all the way around. So yes, he was a part of the black exploitation movement
Yes,
with his original creation. But yeah, racial profiling is absolutely a real thing, and it wasn't until they saw, oh, he's one of the good ones, that they let him go because that's what happened.
shout out to our armed services.
So, we see Ganthet making his way to, I assume it was Ganthet, because he's the main, like, whenever shit goes down, he's the guardian that they're like, oh my God, Ganthet, save us.
Yes,
And in the original story, or at least the one that in Emerald Twilight, I think it was Ganthet who made the last ring that Kyle got.
correct.
So I assume that was Ganthet that, gave the last ring to John. If it wasn't Ganthet, then, I'll just be wrong. But pretty sure it was Ganthet. So,
I think they describe him as like the Guardian, but by all intents and
yeah, like
purposes, I
I
thought
don't
it was
think he was
that.
named, and that's why I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he is like, oh shit, we got something to do. So he luckily it was when John was arriving at the house, because had John been taken to jail, this is a different movie.
Yep.
But whatever. So he lands, or he may have just landed near the jail. Who knows? But he he crash lands, and John is like, "Oh shit, let me go see what that is." And then he finds him, tries to help him. He's like, "Hey, I got you. We will take you to the hospital. This is a little blue alien man. Not sure what the hospital's gonna do, but he did everything he could." And Ganthet, unfortunately, is not able to tell him anything. He's like, you must," and then he dies, and then he disintegrates. So I can't even like prove that this happened. I can't
No
show
one's gonna
anybody this little blue man yeah, like, but
who's gonna
it's
believe
fine.
me? There's no evidence here. It's just an ash pile.
Yep. And then the Green Lantern ring finds its way to John's finger, and John is like, "Oh shit, I didn't ask for this," and he tries to take it off, and then the ring starts talking to him, and there's a little confusion, but he's like, I don't want this. What's going on? What's happening?" And the ring eventually takes him to the watchtower because it's like, we need somebody who can help me understand what's going on here. So he goes up to the watchtower, and in the watchtower, we see Green Arrow, Vixen, and Martian Manhunter basically saying, like, hey, we are short staffed and there's a lot of shit happening. And it's like, well, Wonder Woman and Superman should be back in about a week. Batman is just doing whatever Batman does. They're just kind of going through the roster and explaining why the heaviest hitter in the room is Martian Manhunter, and then otherwise it's just some, you know, B and C tier as far as what people know about them. Of course, you and I know exactly who Green Arrow and Vixen are, but a
Mhm.
lot of people, a lot of casuals may not. And so they John eventually, like, he walks in and he's confused, and they're just like, intruder, and they start attacking him.
Which is
And
wild.
my thought is, Martian Manhunter, you could have cleared this up real quick, but instead you decided to start stretching and attacking people. But whatever, that's fine. Because if I'm Martian Manhunter, there's a lot of fighting that never happens.
Oh yeah, it's one of those. His power set, for those that don't know DC Comics, he's Superman with telepathy and shapeshifting. The man is about as strong as Kal-El, and a lot of these fights could be over in seconds, but instead he just likes to throw hands because if someone was truly intruding, he could end it in seconds. Like I would be over so quick. I'm gonna read his mind. I'm gonna put him in. I'm a comic book new jutsu your brain, and all of a sudden you're on the ground foaming at the mouth. That's
And
how
that's the
OP
thing, like,
this man is.
all he had to do was just read his mind real quick to know that he didn't mean any harm, that like all like it didn't need to be a fight, but the movie needs to happen.
Plot's got a plot.
Because yeah, if I'm Martian Manhunter, I'm gonna be like, oh, there's a stranger here. Let me go ahead and get in there and see what he's thinking. Let's see what's on his mind, what his agenda is, what his plans are, all that, so that I can decide what needs to happen next. And maybe Martian Manhunter doesn't like going into people's minds without consent. You know, probably a good way to be. But, whatever.
You notice that, like, for being superheroes in the DC universe, every single one of them, their first reaction is to throw hands.
Yes.
Like, it doesn't matter what scenario it is. You're getting punched. Ah, you scared me. Punch. Hey, you're not where you're supposed to be. Punch. You know what? If you go to them for help and it's the wrong place at the wrong time, you're getting thrown down on. Justice League is saviors for big stuff, but small things, you're just gonna get beat up.
I gotta get you before I get got.
Yep,
Them's the rules. That's how it's gotta be.
that's got to be.
We will throw hands now, ask questions later. Because again, I think that whenever, or the way I see it, whenever your job is to deal with hostile threats, it is often assumed that I will be attacked. I am in danger and I have to subdue the danger before I do anything else. You know
Correct.
who has that same mentality? The police. That is why they often start yelling and using a lot of force
Mhm.
immediately out the gate
Mhm. Right at the gate.
because we can't talk about it. And to an extent, it makes sense because, again, if you do have malicious intent and I'm trying to talk to you and you get me, then, that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Hmm.
So that is usually why, if they assume there's any danger or if there's a problem or anything, they will draw weapons and subdue first, but very aggressively because I can't get got. And if one of us is going to get got, it's not going to be me. That's the philosophy. And so I think that's why they attack first and ask questions later, literally.
It's interesting because as this fight progresses, when they finally stop fighting, and I think it's Martian Manhunter that wraps him up or whatever, and they try to interrogate him and ask how he got the ring. The ring itself is the thing that clears him, not him. The ring, because in this movie, the rings can talk, and in
Out loud. Like they have a
different
speaker.
versions of his, but versions of Green Lantern, it does talk because the ring's power set, for those that don't know, the Green Lantern ring, while it can create constructs, um, and that could be as massive as entire planets, it also is a telepathy device. It also is a translator, universal translator. Like any language spoken to it is translated to the ring's user as whatever native language they have, which is honestly pretty dope. Um, but it also unlocks Oa. Does a whole bunch of other things. But in this fight, in this adaptation, the ring says, "Yes, I did belong to your former member, Hal Jordan, and now I belong to John Stewart."
Yes, because again, the ring has a speaker. Because normally, I thought the ring could just communicate to the lantern wearing it, but in
Same.
this one, like the ring can just talk out loud. But
Like
yeah,
like Jarvis.
so eventually they figure it out. They are able to talk, and we find out that the ring belonged to Hal Jordan, and they were like, "Oh no, that means he's dead." And so he's like, "You're not gonna believe, like, I can tell you what happened, but you're not gonna believe me." And I'm like, "You're looking at an alien man. Go ahead and tell him."
For all the far-fetched stuff, you got a Martian right in front of you. And
Yeah.
up until this point, I don't believe that regular humans on Earth, outside of Martian Manhunter, know about any aliens in the world, which is
Well,
also an interesting concept considering how often the world is attacked by aliens.
in this universe, the first movie was Superman Man of Tomorrow. In Superman Man of Tomorrow, Superman is there, Martian Manhunter's there, Lobo is there, and Parasite is there.
Mm.
So the world knows that there's some shit at this point because they have seen, like, Superman versus Lobo was on the news. Martian Manhunter's involved, like all that, like that is the people know that there are aliens here. So, um, yeah, they talk and he explains to them like, hey, a little blue man showed up. He died. I got this ring. It brought me here. And Green Arrow is like, all right, let's go, you know, look at the ship, see what the deal is. We're gonna figure this out. And they're like, you should take him with you. And initially, Green Arrow's like, absolutely not. He is trash with that ring. It's like, yeah, but you need to take him with you. So they go, and the ship is fixed. It's just fine now. And they're like,
Yep.
oh, it must have some kind of self-healing ability.
Plot's
That's
got
cool.
a plot. Plot's got a plot.
Yeah, because I was like, how was it in bad shape on its way to Earth if it can heal itself? But whatever. The movie's got to happen.
Hmm.
So he's like, I swear it was a crashed ship whenever it got here, but whatever. And again, Martian Manhunter could have just been like, yep, he's telling the truth. I can guarantee it. You know how I can guarantee it? Because
I
I
can
can
read
read
you.
fucking minds.
Yep. Hmm.
So,
OP power never used.
yeah, because McGann had no problem
Oh
using that
no.
power.
She created entire constructs inside your brain.
Yeah, I fucks with McGann. But anyway, again, consent. But they arrive on Oa and it's in bad shape. A lot of dead lanterns. It is ugly. And so they're looking around and oh no, they're attacked by a lady with wings and a mace. And she don't play around. But John goes back to we're in combat. So John gets in combat mode
He
and
about
hits her
that.
with a fucking truck
Uh-huh.
and is about to kill her with said truck. And the ring keeps saying lethal force is not authorized. Lethal force is not authorized. Lethal force is not authorized. And Green Arrow's like, you're gonna kill her. And if I'm John, I'm like, yeah, I know.
She tried to
Because
kill me.
you see that fucking mace she was swinging around? She's gonna lop my shit off. And we're not doing that.
For the
So,
plot, on the ship on the way to this situation, Green Arrow makes John go through like a miniature training program. That's why he's able to craft these constructs. He didn't just get the ring and pop out. Oh, I can now make shit. No, on the ship or as they're
well, and yeah,
flying.
like he's doing little practice tests.
Yeah, just trying to get himself accustomed to it. And mind you, John doesn't want this ring. He just wants it off. That's his
Initially,
entire time. He's just like, I really just don't want this, guys. I don't want this at all. You guys can take this. So he's training a little bit while they're in space flying towards this because
yeah, like every montage where they're in the ship, yeah, he's doing his little practice tests, doing his
yeah.
doing his video games, getting his hand-eye coordination right. So yeah. Um Eventually Shiera, gets subdued, luckily. And they talk to her to figure out what's going on. And she explains the Thanagarian and Ranian war. Thanagar and Ran have always had problems, but they reach a mutually beneficial agreement, and Hal is the overseer of said agreement. He's kind of the intermediary. And they're dealing with Zeta beam technology. Things go badly, and the entire planet of Thanagar is teleported to Ran's, space, which fucks up both planets' atmosphere and, conditions and all that. And so, again, with Thanagar and Ran, it's on sight. If I see you, we throwing hands. I hate you. There is no love between these two. So
Nope.
the three of them head out to figure out what the deal is. And the ring has a low battery. So Green Arrow says, "Hey, repeat after me because you got to charge it." And he says the Green Lantern oath. And John is like, "Are you serious?" Like that? And then when he does it, it works. And he says, of all the hokey, lame ass things, and I had to rewind it because I thought he said honky lame ass things.
Yep. Uh-huh.
That's what I heard. And I was like, what?
Hey, they be flirting with they be flirting with a whole bunch of stuff. So you sound a little too close to this, my guy. But that is probably the most realistic reaction to hearing that damn oath. As a child, I love the Green Lantern oath. As an adult, when I hear it, I'm like, all right.
Same. Well, as a child, I never loved it. But yeah, like as an adult, I'm like, really? That's what we're doing? Okay.
All this, you know.
But yeah, like when he said this lame ass, yeah, I was like, yes, that is the correct response. But yeah, he said hokey. I thought he said honky, and I was confused. But glad he said hokey.
Mhm.
So, uh, they arrive and more ruin, more dead bodies. It's ugly. And Adam Strange shows up. And of course, with him and Shire, it's like, oh yeah, let's go. Like that, no talking. They just immediately get to going.
And Adam Strange is a champion of the planet Rand, so
Yes.
he's infamously known to Thanagarians. But he
And they
also
didn't even know
suffers
that's who
from
that was. Or at least
right
she
at
didn't know
the
that's who that
time,
was. She just saw Iranian and was like, all right, come here.
which is crazy work. But at least the little Justice League trio stops her.
Yeah, she's a warrior. And so, yeah, eventually they're like, hey, let's figure this out. So they tie him up, they interrogate him, he explains who he is, what his deal is. And of course, Shire is like, he's lying. He's a liar. It's like,
All
well,
Randians are liars.
yeah. Like, hold on. Let's wait. Um, so yeah, eventually they make a truce and they're like, all right, let's do some more investigating. So they go to the Ran High Command or the Ran High Council. That's the goal. And they reach Cantus and he's like, "Hey, I'm Adam Strange." And they're like, "No, you're not. Adam Strange is dead." He's like, "I am and I have proof." So they scan him. He's like, "Oh shit, you're Adam Strange. Your prisoner sure is talking a lot. You can tell her to shut the fuck up." And I am no prisoner. Like, yeah, that whole thing was great.
And that is
Um,
one wrong woman to say, to be talking trash to.
yeah,
Share about that life. It
especially
wasn't for
this
anything else.
Shire.
She kill people.
This Shire does not play around.
No,
She
not
is
at all.
about it. Um, and I love who she's voiced by. Which, P.S., forgot to do that. David, what did you think about the voice cast in this movie?
So honestly, the voice casting was top tier. I did enjoy Aldous Hodge as Geo, and I didn't think I would. But I for sure that man can play it. I think that Aldous Hodge needs a bigger role in the DC movie universe. I would love to see him not as Hawkman because I know that he was in Black Adam. I think he needs to be recasted as something else. Just I don't think that role is good enough for him. He's not GL. Don't get me wrong. He ain't no Green Lantern, but his voice acting in this was top tier. I did enjoy it. Jamie Gray Hyder was Shira, and she did a very good job as well. Same
Yeah,
with
I
Martian
know her
McFly.
as I know her as Kat from Law and Order SVU.
Is that who did that?
Yeah, because
What?
when I heard her, I was like, "Is that Kat?"
It sure is. Oh my gosh. I did not
Yeah,
know.
and whose voice I really enjoyed, Sinestro.
Yes, actually, that was dope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sinestro's voice actor was really good.
What's his name? Rick Wasserman or something like that.
Yeah, and I don't recognize him from anything,
I don't either,
but
but I enjoyed it. I definitely
yeah, I
enjoyed
was
it.
like, I fucks with the Sinestro voice. Um, whose voice I didn't really have feelings about was Hal. And I mean, Hal was voiced by the same dude who does Superboy in Young Justice, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, I didn't really have feelings about Hal's voice.
Hmm.
Like it was fine. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. I wasn't impressed, but I also wasn't bothered.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
But yeah, and then I guess the other main person who was voiced was Green Arrow. And also I was fine with Green Arrow's voice. I didn't have
Yeah, it
hard
wasn't
feelings.
wasn't nothing wrong with it. I mean, with Ollie, it's not really. You don't need a
Not a lot to
specific
do.
skill set for him. He's just arrogant, blonde hair, blue eyed asshole. And it shouldn't be that hard to play him. Uh,
Agreed. But yeah, I thought that John was really good. I thought Shire was really good. I thought Sinestro was really good.
I
But
would agree with all of those.
okay, okay. And what did you think of the art style?
I love this art style. It kind of reminds me of a hybrid um, Justice League. What do you call it? Sorry, hybrid Young Justice style. There we go. Hybrid Young Justice style of artwork. I thought it was pretty good. I again, I will always say I love the newer style artwork, especially like later on in the movie when Hal gets his power up and how he turns green. I love that. It looks so cool. Um, I do like the costumes because a lot of times artists will change up costumes, but I did like the costumes out here. Wasn't a fan of Martian Manhunters, not gonna lie. Not feeling that. It looks like he's got tattoos. I think it's goofy. I think his suit looks tattooed on. The villains were pretty dope though. The Sinestro Corps when all they were charging up. I think that was pretty cool. And Vixen, obviously, top tier. You can't go wrong
Always.
designing her. Woman is gorgeous.
Yeah, and that's the
Uh,
thing. Vixen is one of the most consistent that I've seen drawn.
yeah. Not a whole lot of variation with that.
Yeah, like she's drawn very consistently from what I have seen.
How'd you feel about Shire?
I liked her. I didn't love it as far as like her design, but honestly, whenever she actually has like the hawk face on, like it's hard to I don't know. I liked it. With I feel like it was a they did the best they could with what they had to work with. Because I
That's fair.
don't know that I love her like again with whenever she has the hawk mask on. Like I don't know if I love that generally. Because even in Justice League, I liked her better without it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
she does look
when
better without it.
because she had it in Justice League and then didn't have it in Unlimited. And yeah, I liked her without it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a warrior's headdress or something like that,
I
but
mean, it is because yeah, like all the Thanagarians have it. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I I thought they did well with what they were doing because I don't love it generally.
I didn't like that he kept his coat on for most of the movie. I thought that was kind of lame.
Well, I think that was I took that to mean like he hasn't like he's not Green Lantern yet.
He hadn't embraced the role.
Yeah, like he's still trying to get the ring off, and then it isn't until he decides, no, I this is my ring. I am Green Lantern. I am the future. Like that's when he doesn't have the coat anymore. So I think the coat was kind of a visual representation for us to understand, like, no, he's not all in yet.
Mm.
That's what I took it to mean.
That's fair. That's fair. Because at the end, it does like quote unquote disintegrate off.
Yeah,
Um, and then you see the full costume. But anyway,
exactly. And one of the things, whenever he saw that he had the Green Lantern suit on, the ring was like, it's customizable. So if you don't like it, you can change it.
hmm
But yeah. So uh Cantus lets them know that Sardath plans on destroying Thanagar, like he's gonna use the Zeta beams as just a full weapon to just destroy the planet once and for all. We're done here. And Adam and Shire are looking into it, and well, first, they give Cantus a little more charge so that, his ship isn't just stranded in the middle of nowhere. And he uses that charge to straight up sacrifice himself to attack Thanagarians some more.
yep, suicide bomb, which is
So,
crazy work.
like, yeah, just they're in war mode. Like, I hate these people. So, Adam and Shira are investigating, and the other two are like, y'all are in a room and you haven't killed each other? That's progress.
Mhm.
And of course, Shira, being the violent person that she is like, don't tempt me.
I'm not a killer, but don't push me.
So, they are looking into it, and they're discovering like, oh, somebody is impersonating us to sow chaos. Someone is disguising themselves as a Thanagarian ship. They're disguising themselves as a Iranian ship to to make this war happen. Like they're keeping it going. They are sowing discord. CIA shit.
hmm
So they're like, we have found the location that it returns. Like the attacking ships, they always go back here. So let's make moves. So they get there and they are attacked by various, villainous folks. Of the ones that are there, I recognize Kanjaro and the girl with the yellow ring, whose name escapes me. I
Talking
didn't.
about the Sinestro Corps?
Yes,
Forgot her name.
I did too. But those are the two that I recognize. The other two, um, and Despero. I know exactly who
Yes.
Despero was.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, the pink guy who could shapeshift, don't know who he was.
Mm.
And the large fellow, I don't know who he was, but I recognize the other ones. Were you in the same boat?
Yeah, they're commonly used. I think Conjar Row is probably one of the most notable ones outside of Sinestro.
Yeah, like
Uh,
he's an intergalactic bounty hunter or assassin or mercenary
Something
like
like
this.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then what do you call it? Lissa Drack is the girl.
Yes, her.
Um, I've seen her a couple of times, but she almost always ends up getting killed. So like in other adaptations, she don't live that long, but none of them really do live that long. Um, like the ring said, lethal force not authorized, but whenever Yellow Lanterns are trying to come after you, you end up taking them out. That's kind
Yeah,
of how it
just how it's gotta be.
goes.
And just how it's gotta be.
Yeah,
So because yeah, like if it's a situation where it's you or me, I pick me. So
right. Every time.
but they fight and Sinestro shows up and literally has a gun to John's head and is like, I will splatter his shit all over this asteroid
Mhm.
if y'all don't surrender. And then he knocks everybody out, of course, before taking or after taking John's ring, because John is new to this. And John gets his ring swiped a couple times.
He does. He
But
does.
again, he's new to this. So of course he does.
But obviously, you could willpower yourself back.
Yes, and he knows that eventually. And it's a good thing that Hal teaches him that. But they get locked up and they see Hal Jordan. Oh shit. It's Hal Jordan.
He's alive.
He's alive. And they're like, why? The only way a lantern loses their ring is when they die. So, what the fuck, Hal? And he's like, no, I released it so that Sinestro couldn't get it after explaining, how everything went bad. And then they tell him, oh, well, Sardath has created a Zeta Beam weapon that is going to destroy Thanagar. We need to go handle that. And Sinestro's like, oh, thank you so much for that information. I appreciate it. Let me go handle that right now. And luckily, Hal's been there for a minute, so he's already almost escaped. And
Plan has been formulated.
Shayera has an nth metal knife, and they make sure that we know, oh yeah, the hardest substance ever. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
this'll help. Good thing
Funny
she
how they
keep
never took that away from her.
yeah, she keep that thing on her. But they took the mace, but they probably didn't do a thorough search. But whatever, the movie's gotta happen.
Correct.
So they are able to escape, and there's a little more fighting that goes on. And Hal teaches um John how to call for the ring. And Green Arrow's like, while you're there, can you go ahead and get our stuff too? Like, that'd be great. I need my quiver.
You
So
know, it's really interesting that Hal teaches John how to call the ring when Hal could have just called the ring. But
it's
I mean,
not Hal's ring anymore. That ring don't answer to Hal.
I'm just saying. Just saying. Plot's got a plot, but
As far as I understand, because that is not Hal's ring anymore. That's why he couldn't call for it, and he couldn't he couldn't let them know what the deal was, and he had a bunch of rings on already. I don't know.
it's true.
The movie's got to happen.
Movie's gotta happen.
So yeah, he teaches him how to call for the ring, and again, good thing he did. So a little more fighting, and so they make their way to Ran. And the ship is not able to move as fast as they would like. So that is why Sinestro was able to beat them there. Because seeing as how Sinestro leaves after them, they have to jump out of hyperspace.
Yep.
So Sinestro gets there, and, Adam Strange gets a hold of Sardath, and he's like, I can't tell you where I am, but I can teleport you here. And so he does. And Sinestro finds them immediately, and we know why later. But at first, we're like, how did that happen? This location is
Mm-hmm.
super secret, and so yeah, we know how that happens later. And Hal is kind of just killing people, and Green Arrow is like, "Hey Hal,
What are you doing?
what's going on?"
So
And
we don't kill people. So what's up?
he's like, "I've been locked up and tortured, so yeah, I do kill people." And while the fighting is going on, whenever we see Hal kind of sneak away, that's the point when I feel like most people are like, all right, something's off.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of wonder where people's minds went with that because, of course, I immediately went to, oh shit, it's Parallax. Like he's been
Infected.
yeah, he's been possessed by Parallax. Um I don't know where other people's minds went. I wonder if other people thought like, oh, it's some shapeshifter pretending to be Hal, or it could be, a mind control situation, or maybe it's actually not like he's not a bad guy. It's actually not a problem. He's still a good, like, I wonder where people's minds went the first time they watched this, but I immediately went to, oh shit, it's probably Parallax.
Fun fact for those that don't know, Parallax is essentially the god of fear. So all these rings are on a spectrum of emotion and they have entities that govern them. Parallax is the entity that governs fear, the power source of the yellow ring. If you are infected with Parallax, it does give you a power boost and utilizes your ability to incite fear upon others. So that's
Yes,
what.
Parallax is usually represented as like a giant yellow dragon.
Or snake or insect
Yeah,
centipede,
serpent.
something like that.
And does Parallax always have to, because I I'm never clear if Parallax exists physically or if Parallax has to have like a host or like
So
I don't always know how Parallax exists.
think of Parallax like you think of Darkseid. Darkseid has an avatar. Otherwise, because
Okay.
Darkseid is the entity of evil. That's just
Yeah,
he's an entity. So to fight him in his entity form would be impossible. You'd have to be
correct.
like the equivalent of Marvel's Great Tribunal to fight him. So he uses a physical form, which makes no sense, but he uses a physical form to fight people in the DC universe. Parallax is the same way. You can't fight so that's why the Green Lantern movie with what's his name? Ryan Reynolds back in the day made no damn sense whatsoever. Because you never fight Parallax straight up. He's normally possessing someone. And you almost exorcise Parallax out of a body or into another captive device, but you're not fighting them straight up. Like that's not happening because it can travel from person to person and infect you with them.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of view that as like an Ultron, like
Yes,
always exists, never truly dead, just kind of needs a host body to get shit done, and can
correct.
possess multiples at a time, and yada yada.
Yep.
Okay.
I think in one rendition he appears like as like a storm. Like I think somebody I forgot what it was, but in
Like
my
in
mind,
Fantastic Four when
yeah,
Galactus was just a cloud.
yeah, just a cloud of just like energy or something like that. Parallax has also been has been drawn out like that before. It's like, oh no, Parallax is approaching, and it's a giant cloud of like fear gas just floating through the air or whatever. Uh, don't let it touch you or it'll infect you type deal. So
Okay. Okay. That's yeah. I was never clear on all of the forms Parallax can take. Just because, of course, I know who Parallax is, but I've only seen Parallax a certain number of times. Like I'm not familiar with Parallax across existence.
right.
So, and they change shit all the time. Like I'm sure that Darkseid originally, when Darkseid was created, it was just the Darkseid body that you see, and then eventually Darkseid became a larger entity that always exists and is beyond the comprehension of most.
Yes, like you can't kill Darkseid. It'll destroy every universe, which I think is the plot of another movie. But he has to exist in some form of fashion.
Yeah.
He's the definition of a plot's got a plot. What if we go
Yeah.
back in time and just, no, sir, he's gotta exist. Some people have
Yeah.
to just die.
And that's why I think it's funny whenever they're like, Thanos could be Darkseid. It's like, oh, you haven't, honey, you have no idea
Yeah.
what you're talking about.
Thanos is a whole being. Darkseid is an entity.
Yeah,
Where Thanos says, I am inevitable. Darkseid's like, bro, I'm existence.
yeah, like Darkseid actually is inevitable. Like the Darkseid can't go away. So, but anyway, um, yeah, we see that Green or Sinestro is on his way, because they have found Sardath, or they make their way to Sardath. Sinestro shows up, and then there's more fighting, and again, we see Hal killing more people, and unfortunately, John doesn't want to kill Sinestro, but he's got to do it because again, if it's you or me, I'm gonna make it. So he uses the ring and kills Sinestro, and then John figures out, oh, it's been Hal all along. So we see Hal with Sardath. And he's like, hey, he's giving me the formula, the Krabby Patty secret formula. And Sardath is like, the only place that this exists is in this suitcase and in my head. And he shoots Sardath. And Green Arrow is like, Hal, what the fuck? And then John is like, yeah, he's the villain. It's him. He's the guy. And then, he explains Sinestro infected me with Parallax. And he just goes into like full monologue. And then he reveals himself to be, you know, he's got all the rings and all that. And then,
But unbeknownst to the listener, the secondary plot that's happening while this happened is that Oa was destroyed and all these lanterns were killed. So while the Thanagarian Rand war was happening, Oa was also taken out. So that's why he has all these rings. he it's revealed later that he went to Oa before being quote unquote captured by Sinestro and infected with Parallax. That he attacked Oa and killed all these Green Lanterns, stealing their rings so he can be more powerful.
Yes, and in the comic book, he kind of did it more one by one. So the Guardians said to him, like, hey, you used your ring for personal gain. We need you to report back to Oa immediately for punishment. And he's like, oh, don't worry. I'm on my way. And when Lanterns try to stop him by attacking him, he kills them, takes their ring, and now he's like one lantern ring stronger. Now he's two lantern rings stronger. Now he's three lantern rings stronger. So he slowly acquires rings, but in this one, he kind of just destroyed Oa and took all the rings at once.
Yep. Took all the strongest warriors rings anyway.
Yeah, like everybody who was there, because there are way more lanterns than we saw. But
Yes.
yeah, like the lanterns that we most like, Kilowog, um, yeah, like the lanterns that can be named generally are the ones that he stole rings from. But um, yeah, and I mean, we see that the Guardians are kind of the middleman for the peace agreement between Ran and Thanagar, and that's why they're involved, and that's why those two, yeah, like it's all connected. But he starts monologuing. He's parallax. He's got all these rings. He's all powerful. And he and John start fighting. And John is kind of beating his ass. John really beat his ass,
He
honestly.
really did. I mean, and background wise, Hal is a pilot in the Air Force. John is a Marine. Not saying one's better than the other, but first person shooter is
As,
different than
as
dropping
far
carbon
as
bombs.
as far as combat goes, one's better than the other.
John got them hands.
And John puts them on him. Like John beat his ass. And I was like, okay, so does this speak to John being better than Hal because he was able to defeat him when Hal had all the advantages? He had all the rings. He's known as the greatest Green Lantern ever. Like, does this speak to how cold John is? Or does this speak to how the corruption limits Hal?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think Hal in his purest form, no corruption, can work wonders. But as soon as he lets a little bit of evil inside, he develops a weakness that John can then overpower him because he's still pure. Although at this point in the movie, John is in God mode. Like his entire body changes. He was essentially dressed like a homeless man for most of the movie in a prisoner's outfit. And then gets a haircut, gets a beard shave, his body turns black and green, his eyes glow green. He's like, I am willpower personified. And John Stewart's like, you can still catch these hands.
Yep. And then John forcibly takes the rings off of Hal. He's like, my willpower supersedes yours, so all these rings are mine now.
Sure does. And at this point in the movie, he embraces the phrase because I think how Jordan hits him with a little bit of a hook, sending him back. And John goes, you know what? I think I understand this little model now. In bright as day, in
Yep.
black as night, I'm about to put these paws on you, as he says the oath.
Yes. And so he decides, no, I am not a killer. I've done enough killing in my life. I will not do it. And then he gets his other hand stabbed, and Green Arrow's got to put him down. And it hurts him, but that's how it's got to be.
He was gonna kill John, other way.
Yep. So Adam Strange decides, like, hey, Zeta beams are attracted to me, and it is too late to turn this thing off. So I will go ahead and sacrifice myself to handle it. And Shire is like, he was one of the good ones. I mean, he was pretty brave for a Ranian.
Hmm.
I'm like, still talking that shit, but okay. So Shire drops John and Green Arrow off back at the house, and John is like, I mean, I guess will just try to rebuild the Green Lantern Corps and then releases the rings. And I'm like, there are no Guardians. So what the fuck is what?
You know, that's always been a giant plot hole to me too, because this is technically the Tomorrowverse is what this movie is set in, and
Is this?
I'm confused. If O
Yep,
is destroyed
all
and
of
the
it,
Guardians are gone, then
all of it.
what
What are we doing? How is
you
this?
know,
What's happening?
I'm confused because if you don't have the judges, what are the police force for? You know? So that's fine. That's cool.
And like, how do the rings have their own level of sentience where they will decide who is worthy and who should get the rings? Because like usually it's the Guardians who say yeah you,
So this
but
happens in two parts. The rings themselves are sentient. They do have their own. They do choose their own. They were designed that way to choose people with strong willpower, or if like someone choose like with the blue rings, the indigo rings, which is hope. Someone who has the most amount of hope, which is really interesting when you think about it. Super hopeful. The ring is attracted to him and chooses that person. So they are sentient. The Guardians don't need to choose, but the rings can be overridden by the Guardians to say, "Hey, we want that guy to be a lantern," and the ring will go that way. So it works in both ways. It's one of those. Hey, it's designed this way, but plot's got a plot. You're the new Green Lantern, which is why Earth has like three of them.
four if you include Guy.
Ah, that's true. Yeah, they got four of them.
Five, because Jessica.
That's
Is that her
right,
name?
Jessica. Yeah, five. But they're not all at once though. I think the uh
Usually.
normally it's Guy, Hal, and John all at once, and then
And then
Hal
Kyle
turns
later.
evil. Then Kyle shows up, and
And
then I
then
think
Jessica's way later usually.
yeah, Jessica's in the guy is in the Kyle Rayner universe. So John's gone by that point. Guy Gardner's gone by that point. It's just Kyle, and then now Jessica.
But, anyway. Um, David,
Yes, sir.
scale of 1 to 10. What are you thinking?
Oh yeah, this is a solid eight. This is a solid eight movie. Uh, Plot was great. There were some plot holes, but as a consumer, I was not mad. I was not mad at all. Um, Design wise, really good. Fight scenes, really good fight scenes. The voice acting was solid, and I wasn't disappointed with the ending. I love I love the corniness of saying the phrase right before you defeat the villain. I think that in comic books that is so dope. Um, John finally embracing the willpower and overpowering him, taking all the rings, the sacrifice from Ollie. It was a really good movie. Really good movie.
Okay.
You?
Okay. Solid 7.5. I definitely enjoyed it. And again, I do like the twist at the end. For those who didn't know it was a twist. Um, or those who didn't know what was happening. Like, if since I called that it was probably Parallax, again, if I didn't know that, then I would be like, oh shit, how's the film? Oh, yeah.
You watching the movies, you know who's gonna be the villain.
So
But
I
it
think
was a
that
good
was done
twist.
well.
Yeah.
Um, for people who did know and people who didn't know. Like I think it was executed pretty well. Yeah, again, there were some holes, but whatever. It's fine. It's gonna be
Movies got
okay.
a movie. Yeah.
Yeah, you know. But still enjoyable regardless.
Definitely do. I don't like to rewatch certain movies. I enjoyed rewatching this one. This was good.
Okay. Anything else on the movie?
No, I think I'm great. I think it's solid. I hope the people enjoyed it. And if you haven't watched it, please do. If you're a fan of DC Comics, if you're a fan of the Green Lantern Corps, the International Intergalactic Space Police. Uh, this is a solid introductory story for John Stewart. It's solid.
I
I do want to ask because you've seen Justice League, you've seen Justice League Unlimited, you've seen Young Justice. Um, what is your favorite rendition of John Stewart, design wise? Because to me, there's nothing better than bald with goatee John. I'm
Yeah, I
just
was gonna say I think Justice League Unlimited is my favorite John.
my favorite voice actor. Like I wish the
Phil
voice
Lamar.
actors for Unlimited could be with this new design style. Like just redraw it in this new design style, and you got the greatest Justice League cast.
Well, and I think that the large scale universe before this, the DC animated movie universe, is my probably favorite art style. And yeah, if we had that art style, because the fight choreography in those movies was so good. And those movies, Hal was the main Green Lantern. We do see John appear, but John is kind of just in the background or like at the table.
Yeah, he's just there. Oh yeah, because
But
they make that joke about recruiting Guy Gardner. They're like, no,
yeah,
no, absolutely not.
both of them are like, no. But guys, like, no. So yeah, that was great. But um, yeah, that's probably my favorite art style. But I, as far as John specifically, I like John in Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah,
And voice wise, yeah, Phil Lamar is possibly the GOAT
one of the greatest voice actors of all time. Oh my gosh.
across the board. So yeah. Um, and honestly, I think that this is the best Green Lantern movie. Like, as far as movies that are centered specifically around Green Lantern, I think this is the best one.
I can give you that. Yeah, I can give you that.
Because yeah, Green Lantern First Flight, Emerald Knights, I think is one of them. The live action, like this is the best Green Lantern movie.
Are you excited for the new movie?
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. I
How do you
thought it was
feel
going to
about
be a
its cast?
show.
Is it a show?
I thought it was going to be a show. Don't quote that, but I thought it was going to be a show.
How do you feel about the casting? Light skin
I'm
Green Lantern.
I'm good with it because whenever like I love doing fake castings for movies. And the first whenever Hal Jordan's Green Lantern came out, I was thinking at that time like who would I want to be John? And my pick for John was also light skinned.
Hmm.
I wanted Laz Alonso to be John.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, for those who don't know, Laz Alonso, he's Mother's Milk in The Boys. He is in Fast and Furious 4, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Um, he's in he cheated on Regina King in This Christmas.
Which is hilarious. That scene.
Hilarious.
Oh my
It's so
gosh.
good. Um, yeah, that's
Bed
Laz Alonso.
oil. No diddy.
Yeah. So that's who I wanted for Green Lantern back in the day. Um, as time moved, I thought Sterling K. Brown would be a good John.
Yes. I would 100% agree with you. I think he'd do that role very well.
The only thing is I would like him like I'd like Sterling K. Brown to be a little taller, but
Is
I
he?
would
He's taller than Alonzo, isn't he?
no, I don't think he is. Like I want to say Sterling K. Brown's in the fives and Los Alonso's in the sixes. Do not quote that. I don't know that to be a fact.
I don't know. Sterling K. Brown's 6 foot tall. I think. Yeah,
Okay. Well, good.
he's good. Because I mean, John does tower next to Hal, and Hal is 6 something. So like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, Sterling K. Brown was my choice for John Stewart for a long time. Like probably 2017 is when I was like, yeah, I think Sterling K. Brown should do it.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
But I'm not mad. I'm not mad at the casting. I
I
think,
am also not mad at it. I think that he will do well in the role based on what else I've seen him in.
and you were right. It is a series. They are. It's called Lanterns. So it's gonna be about all of them. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that DC doesn't, Warner Brothers does not skimp on the animation, and I hope they do not skimp on the writing because you can mess this series up.
Oh,
You
easily.
sure can.
Honestly, it's a lot easier to fuck up than to get right.
You know what? You're absolutely correct about that. I think so.
Yeah, like so there's the margin for error is tight. Like it is going to be very easy to fuck this up. But you'll have to put a lot into it in order to make it right. And the reason that I would rather it be a movie is because when it comes to superhero TV shows, the CGI budget usually has to stay pretty tight. And
Yes,
the CGI required for a Green Lantern anything, like it's got you it that's what it is. Like it's hard light constructs. Like the CGI has to be
top tier.
yeah, like you got to put the budget into the CGI. because in like the Flash show, we can see what happens whenever you have, super speed on a TV budget.
Yes, which the Flash show was pretty good.
Yeah,
They did well.
it's not bad. Supergirl. We see what happens when you have a Superman situation with a TV budget. Like there are moments that look like they're on TV. And so that's my only concern with it being a TV show is the budget for the visuals. Or not my only concern, but my main concern is the budget for the visuals.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping that they don't. Please don't skimp. Please do not skimp.
Yeah, I would agree. That would be the worst mistake. But I think it should be good. I trust James Gunn more than anything.
I do
And
too.
that's why I'm not super worried, is because I believe in James Gunn. Like he has not let me down yet.
I am hoping that we spend a lot of time in suits and in space and not on Earth so much.
Since it's a TV show, we're gonna see. And I'm wondering if they're gonna bring in any of the alien Green Lanterns or if they're gonna bring in the Guardians and what the CGI budget is gonna be for that too.
Well, the Guardians shouldn't be too hard of a design to have on there, even if you don't fully animate them. Um, Having them as as a character, there are height challenge people, um, small people that are actors that can do a good role. I actually would like to see what's his name that plays um oh my gosh, I had it. Game of Thrones
Peter
actor.
Dinklage.
Yes, I would like to see him as a Guardian. Um, I know it might be typecasting because of his height, but like it makes perfect sense that he would do the Guardian role really well. So I'm
Well,
hoping they don't completely CGI it.
in uh in Infinity War, they made him a dwarf.
They did. They did.
So
So I'm
if
hoping
that's what
they're
we're doing,
hoping
that's
to
what we're
do
doing.
that. Otherwise, they'll probably CGI them all in, and then we'll have to be critical. But I'm sure we could do another episode on that for
Yeah,
sure.
and it'll probably be just a motion capture situation, but who knows?
Yep.
But all right, anything else on the movie?
I think I'm solid, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, of course. And this won't be the last time. In the next episode, we will be discussing DC League of Super Pets. So until then, salutations.